What's up, cool people? My name is GalacticMrE, aka Mr. E, aka E. Um, I'm here for a very special episode of the Cool Comics Show. As my co-host HG Damien stated in a previous video, we're going to be doing these kind of smaller episodes where we discuss the comics that we've been reading recently. And with June winding down and Pride coming to an end, I thought it would be a perfect time to kind of look at this year's anthologies, DC Pride and Marvel's Voices #1. As a big DC fan, of course, I cracked open DC Pride first. I gotta say, I really enjoyed a lot of the stories in here. The first story in the anthology was Super Pride by Devin Grayson, Nick Robles, Triona Farrell, and Aditya Bidikar. Hopefully, I am saying those names correctly. I enjoyed the first story. It was a good way to open the book. You know, you wanted to open with a titular character, and Superman is definitely that character. And it opens with Jonathan Kent kind of talking about symbols and what those mean to people. And, you know, Superman is a symbol when it comes to the DC universe. And especially Jonathan Kent has had a lot of eyes on him recently, both within the comic realm and within the real world. So I thought it was a great way to kick things off. My only gripe with the story, of course, was Damian Wayne's inclusion. You know, his characterization in the story definitely made a lot of sense. You know, he's always looking for anarchy. So, you know, him preparing for a possible riot makes sense to the character, but I definitely feel it was out of place within the book as a whole. It's not unfounded in its history. I just kind of felt it was out of place in the story itself. I did like the conclusion of the story in John's declaration of "I am you." I thought that was really cool, especially with him having the cape with all of the flags kind of stitched into it. The second story in the DC Pride 2022 anthology is Confessions by Stephanie Williams, Megan Hetrick, Marissa Louise, and Ariana Mayer. This story follows Nubia, and I'm so excited to see Nubia popping up over and over in recent years. I think she is an amazing character, and I love her relationship with Io. I really love the artwork in this story. It gave off a very 70s cartoon type feel. I love that it was just a kind of as the title states, confession, and it all led up to the reason behind their first kiss as a couple. I really thought it was just a very heartwarming story, and just a very inclusive story, just about these two characters and their love for one another. The third story in the anthology is called Think of Me by Ted Brandt and Rose Stein and Frank Svetkovic. This was one of my favorite stories in the anthology. I thought the artwork was amazing, and I'm all for more asexual representation in the comic books. This story is Connor's coming out story in many ways, as it's his first time that he is explicitly described as asexual, and it's quite literally a story about him writing and rewriting a letter to his mother, trying to find the right words to come out. I thought it was beautifully told, and the artwork in this story is phenomenal. I really love the design of Connor Hawke in this story, and I can't wait to see more of Connor. Apparently, he will be coming back in Robin #15, so I think I will definitely continue reading his story. The next story is Up at Bat by Jadzia Axelrod, Lynn Yoshi, Tamra Bunvillain, and Ariana Mayer. I thoroughly enjoyed this story. I thought Alicia Yao finally getting their moment in the spotlight was super, super amazing. I really loved the costume design within this work as well. And you know, it just felt like the character was just picking up where they left off. We haven't seen much of the character, if at all, if I'm not mistaken, since 2016. So it was really refreshing to see the character again, especially with the character coming to the Batgirl HBO Max movie that will be coming out soon. After that kick ass story, we head underwater. We get to see our boy Jackson Hyde in A World Kept Just for Me by Alyssa Wong, W. Scott Forbes, and Ariana Mayer. Jackson is now officially known as Aquaman in the comic books as well. And he is back in this year's DC Pride anthology. It was just, this story kind of resonated with me. We get to go back to Jackson's home, which is in the middle of a desert in New Mexico. He talks about isolation and how he had to, build this facade for himself. I like that they revisited that part to put a magnifying glass to, hey, this is who I used to be. I used to think that I had to be a certain type of way. My parents wanted me to hide who I was. He, of course, was referring to him being Atlantean, but also being gay. His mother wanted him to be straight passing, wanted him to be just blending into society, of course, because his father, we know, is Black Manta. So it was really kind of enduring to see that past turmoil and to see how happy he is now in the books with Hawaii. It was really good to see their relationship on a grander scale and get to meet back up with these familiar characters as they are kind of LGBTQ pillars in the DC continuity. Next, we go off planet in The Gumshoe in Green by Teenie Howard, Evan Cagle, and Lucas Gattoni. I loved it. I'm a sucker for noir type things. I love a good mystery, and I feel like this mystery kind of played out. Even though it was a very short story, I feel like it played out very well. I love the art direction in this story. I love the black and white, and the only color on most of the panels is green, of course signifying Green Lantern. But I just loved, we got to see Sojourner or Joe Mullen. We got to see them in their Green Lantern outfit as they try to unravel this mystery. We get to see a lot of the alien races on the planet that they're on as well. I really enjoyed the story. I can't wait to see more of this character. I hope they get more time to spotlight. I thought the action in the book was really well as well, and just the expressions on the characters' faces, especially when the aliens transformed. I was physically grossed out. I had a lot of fun reading this story. Like I said, I can't wait for more of this character to show up. The next story is called Public Display of the Electromagnetic Spectrum by Greg Lockhart, Giulio Massioni, and Aditya Bidikar. This story is about public displays of affection. And it follows the story of Ray Terrell, aka The Ray. And I enjoyed the story. It wasn't one of my favorites, but I did still find something to resonate in the story. I thought it was a cute story. I thought, the pacing was a little bit off. I did get confused at one point in reading it. There's a point where Black Canary asks, what's up with Ray? He went a little overboard or something of that nature. And the Atom's just like, oh, Xenos tried to give him a kiss. And I thought, that was kind of awkward storytelling, even though it is exactly what happened. They were just, I don't know. But like I said, I really did enjoy the message behind the story, if not the story in its completeness. The next story, it's the Bat Family. They're back. We head over to Bats in the Cradle by Stephanie Phillips, Samantha Dodge, Marissa Luis, and Lucas Gattoni. I thought this was a really great story, and it's not told from the perspective of Batwoman, but from the perspective of her father. And I thought it was kind of neat that they did that instead of, yet another story of the superhero and what it means, what pride means to them. I thought this may be one of the strongest stories in the anthology. And it's just a 4-page story told from the eyes of a parent, just trying to make sure that their LGBTQ youth grows up safely. And it shows that, they're accepting of their child as well, because we have a quick look at Kate getting dismissed from the military for being LGBTQ, and he embraces her for standing by who she is, and I thought that was so powerful. I thought this story was really well done, and shout out to them for making this short story one of the ones that stood out the most in my eyes. The next story is sticking with the Bat Family. We have Special Delivery by Travis Moore, Enrica Aaron, Angioloni, and Ariana Mayer. I thought this story was really cute. I enjoyed it. I really love that you got to see Tim Drake in action. They came out in the comics as bisexual recently, so we haven't had a lot of time spent with Tim and his partner. I thought it was really good to see kind of these intimate moments that we haven't gotten a lot of in the comics. And when Tim was just kind of talking about how their partner made them feel, I was smiling right along with them. The next story is technically another Bat Family story, depending on how you look at it. But this one is called The Hunt by Danny Fernandez, Zoe Thorogood, Jeremy Lawson, and Aditya Bidikar. We follow Harley Quinn and Poison Ivy as I'm not really sure what they're doing. I think they are on a date, but they're kind of throwing knives at each other. So, it makes sense for their relationship, I guess. But they're having this date in the forest, kind of going tit for tat. And then things kind of go awry when this love parasite or hate parasite kind of takes over and starts, trying to trick them and bearing down on their insecurities. But the day is not ruined because Harley and Ivy admit their love for each other, and the parasite, the hate parasite, is killed by love, and we get to see Harley and Ivy embrace each other in the final panel. But all in all, it was a great story. It was a good read. I really loved the artwork in this one as well, and I know we'll be seeing more Harley and Ivy soon, especially with the next season of the Harley Quinn show just announced to be coming to us through HBO Max on July 28th. I am really looking forward to that, and I know Damien is as well. Our next story is called Are You Ready for This? We are finally going to a new family. That's right, it's the Flash family. We get to see another look at Jess Chambers, who we actually have not seen since last year's Pride, where we got a look at their future state self. This is a very interesting character, and I really am glad that we are going to see more of this character, especially with the new book, Multiversity Teen Justice, which just started up recently. So Jess Chambers is a gender-fluid speedster with ADHD and some pretty awesome hair, if I might add. We see him get to take down this universe's iteration of DC villains. I'm really looking forward to this book. I'm not gonna lie, this was kind of a pilot to the Multiversity Teen Justice series, and it did not disappoint. We got to look at the team, we got to look at the villains, we got to look at Raven coming soon. I'm loving this universe already. I just want to see more of what Earth 11 has to offer. And like I said, we haven't seen much of the character since last year, so I can already tell by this story that, they are going to be one that a lot of people kind of fall in love with. They're witty, They're they're just a lovable character, and I just want more of them now. The final story in the DC anthology was called Finding Batman, which was a personal story by Kevin Conroy with art by Jay Bone and Aditya Bidikar. I thought this was a fantastic way to end the book. Like I said earlier when I was speaking about Superman's story, pride isn't always a pretty thing, you know. It started with riots, and yes, we party now, but being gay in this world is sometimes really rough, even when you try to hide it, even when you try to put on this facade, this mask. Sometimes people see right through that and they will try to bring you down. Much like Batman, he talks about wearing a mask of his own, being in auditions and in professional settings. He lived a life where he couldn't be openly gay. The story is just, it's so vivid and raw hitting. It's deeply emotional. And I feel like a lot of people can connect with that, and a lot of people, especially in the LGBTQ community, because me personally, I did start reading comic books because, you know, it was kind of cool to kind of see these people living a double life. And, you know, as I've kind of messed up as that sounds and that seems, growing up in these time periods where you feel like you have to hide who you are, you kind of find solace in these characters hiding who they are, but still being the best them that they can be. So this story definitely really resonated with me. It was hard to read about him living through the AIDS crisis, watching his friends kind of deteriorate before his very eyes. And you know, I think it's something that a lot of younger people don't necessarily think about when they think about pride. So I think it was a very solid way to end the book, kind of hit home, you know, yes, this is a party, yes, this is a celebration, but you do have to kind of remember where you came from, remember how all of this started, and the reason that we celebrate, the reason that we party, is because we don't have to live in the shadows of ourselves anymore. We can stand up, we can make our voices be heard, and I thought that was just a strong way to end the book. All in all, I thought DC did a pretty good job this year. Like I said, the Superman story, it kind of fell flat in a few ways. The race story I felt was a little rushed in a few ways, but it definitely had its high notes in the books, in the book rather. And I enjoyed the read. I enjoyed the read. If you have not read DC Pride 2022 as of yet, I definitely recommend it. All right, so let's kick it over to Marvel Voices Pride number 1, 2022. I love this cover so much. And Wiccan and Hulkling are one of my favorite LGBTQ couples, so I really enjoyed seeing them on the cover as well. The first story in the book is called All My Exes in the Nexus. I loved the title. I thought it was very witty. And I love seeing Kid Loki, who I hope we get to see more of in the MCU. I'm not really sure what they're doing with the character in the MCU. It could go a couple of different ways, to be honest, but we'll see if we get to see Kid Loki or not. But I enjoyed the story. It was by Alyssa Wong and Stephen Byrne. I love that we got to see America Chavez, who a lot of people recently got to meet in their MCU debut in Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness. I also really enjoy getting to see Wiccan and Hulkling as well. As I just mentioned, they're one of my favorite LGBTQ characters in the, couples in the comic book realm. So I really enjoyed getting to see all these characters in action. I thought it was a very strong way to open a book. It was just these kids living their authentic lives, just hanging out with one another. And it comes to find out that Loki kind of orchestrated this whole thing with his exes just so he could hang out with his friends. I thought it was so lighthearted and fun, and just a great way to open the book. The second story in Marvel's Voices is called Ancient and Modern by Andrew Reeler, Brittany L. Williams, and Jose Villarrubia. I thought this was a very playful story. I am not too familiar with these two characters, Marvel Boy and Hercules. But I really enjoyed the artwork. I really enjoyed the colors used in this story as well. And the characters were pretty cool, getting to know them. It was a pretty fun, fast-paced story. And it made me interested for characters that I don't really know much about. So, that's a win in my book. The next story is called LGBTD. I thought it was a fantastic story. I really liked seeing D-Man as well. We are introduced to the Super Trans support group for trans kids with powers. We also get a Spider-Man shout out as he comes barreling through the window being attacked by supervillains when he's supposed to be giving a speech at this meeting. I thought it was a fun story, fast-paced. We got a lot of action. And also, I think Pity Girl, who's introduced in the story, just may be my favorite superhero. Her power is she can control people's minds by telling them sad stories, and she has a lot of sad stories. I thought one of my favorite panels in this whole anthology is just her literally telling this person a sad story. I really enjoyed it. It was very lighthearted. It was a fun quick read, and I thought they did an amazing job. This one was by Grace Fraud, Scott B. Henderson, Lee Townsend, and Brittany Peer. And again, this was one of my favorite stories in this anthology. The next story is called Perfectly Seen. It follows Venom with two M's, not the symbiote, and Taku, who are pretty long-standing characters in the Marvel verse. So Taku is an advisor to T'Challa, Black Panther, and Venom is an ex-henchman for Killmonger. And so Venom is actually imprisoned in Wakanda, and this is how the two meet, and they form a relationship. So this relationship has actually been canon for a very long time, but when their relationship formed in the comics, you weren't really able to paint the picture of homosexuality, so the two were just companions until that rule was reversed. I thought it was a really good storyline. Not one of the strongest, but I definitely still enjoyed the read. And it was definitely good to see kind of this Marvel history kind of come full circle. These characters can finally be who they were written to be. So I really enjoyed Perfectly Seen. It's a story that kicked off in jungle action in 1970s, and we finally get to see its fruition in 2022. The next story by Ira Madison III, Lorenzo Sissi, and Rochelle Rosenberg is called Over the Rainbow. It features Runa the Valkyrie as they are trying to throw the first pride on Asgard. Now, their plans go a little awry when Loki tries to steal the spotlight and tries to throw the first party in his frozen wonderland. But of course, hearing that there's a party, Thor shows up and ruins Loki's plans, and they do eventually have the first pride on Asgard. It wasn't one of my favorites, but I definitely appreciated it. And, we've been seeing a lot of Runa lately, so it was really good to see them as well. And I liked the one of the final panels, Loki transforms into a girl trying to get a kiss from Runa, and she's just like, get me drunk first and we'll see what happens. I thought that was pretty funny. So I definitely enjoyed the comedy in it. And it was a good, like I said, lighthearted story. The final story in Voices is, I think, worth worth the money alone. This was by Charlie Jane Anders, Rostein and Ted Brandt, Tamra Bonvillain and Nassim Jaminia. It's about these two trans individuals who their childhood wish is to be supervillains. But they're kind of like Robin Hood, where they're thieves, but they're only stealing from like bad people. And I mean, they're not giving it to the poor; they are giving it to themselves. But I thoroughly enjoyed the characterizations. I enjoyed the artwork in this book. No, this is a full length comic. This final story, I really enjoyed the peanut style artwork that came into play to show the younger versions of these characters, and I just thought everything about this was pretty amazing. It allowed for the depiction of the young trans characters, honestly, and I really felt for the characters. There's one part where it shows they came out to their parents as mutants, and their parents were like, "That's fine," and that's dandy. And then in a later panel, they came out to their parents as trans, and their parents basically disowned them, which was heartbreaking to read, but it led to the premise of the comic, which is the permanent sleepover. You can really tell that there has been a solid trust built up between these two friends. I really enjoyed this character, and I can't wait to read more about them, which they said they will, Sheila will return in New Mutants number 31. So I'm really looking forward to reading that. I really enjoyed the story. Like I said, it was worth the money. It was worth all the other stories itself. As far as Marvel's voices, I'm not gonna lie, I had a lot more fun reading this than I did DC Pride. Like I said, Marvel does have some stories that, do still fall flat, in my eyes at least. This is all just my opinion. But I enjoyed both comics. They both brought something wonderful to the table. I hope they do keep doing these Pride anthologies. I hope they keep introducing more characters. I hope we get to know the characters that are already here even better. Both Marvel and DC are doing wonderful, wonderful jobs introducing people to these LGBTQ characters, whether they be characters that we've known for a while or they're new characters that they're bringing into the fold. If you have not picked up these books, you will not be disappointed. I again am Galactic Mr. E, aka Mr. E, aka E. Next show will be HG Damien and myself will be talking about Miss Marvel episodes 3 and 4. So we're getting closer and closer to that finale, folks. And Damien will also be letting you know what comics he's been reading recently as well. So make sure you like and subscribe if you haven't done so already. And we will catch you next time. Okay, bye.